Rejection sensitive dysphoria, or RSD. What is it? And what is its connection to autism? Let's go. My friend, welcome. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video. I'm Orionkelly, that autistic guy. I'm all about helping you raise your level of understanding, acceptance, and appreciation of the autistic community. So if that sounds like something you're interested in, well, please join the most amazing community on YouTube. And hey, check out my purpose-built, dedicated video podcast YouTube channel, Autionkelly Podcasts. Is it the enemy within for autistic people? Rejection sensitive dysphoria, or RSD. And what's its connection to autism? Well, first, let's talk about what is RSD. So rejection sensitive dysphoria, or RSD, is a condition that can make it difficult to manage rejection, to handle rejection, or even perceived rejection. But more to that is characterized by an intense emotional response to perceived rejection or criticism. Now, it's not uncommon for people with RSD to experience feelings of shame, embarrassment, even worthlessness in response to even minor setbacks or negative feedback. And what happens then? Well, it can lead to social withdrawal, anxiety, depression, and many other challenges and issues. Critically, RSD is actually commonly associated with autistic people and those with ADHD. RSD and autism, what is the connection? Well, it's complicated, but it is believed that autistic people are more likely to experience rejection-sensitive dysphoria than their other neurotypical peers, non-autistic peers, non-neurodivergent peers. But why? Well, again, complicated. It could be, and it's said to potentially be put down to the challenges we have with things like social communication and interaction as autistic people. I mean, if you have those challenges, it's clearly going to be harder to navigate social situations, which can lead to feelings of criticism, judgment, rejection. Add to that our difficulties in interpreting social cues, forms of communication, non-verbal, verbal, body language, which all can lead us open and vulnerable to rejection or perceived rejection. That's the thing, right? The perception of the rejection is enough. RSD can have a significant impact on the lives of autistic people already challenged by many differences of having an autistic brain. It makes it harder for us to be a part of, to participate in social interactions and activities, to maintain friends, even just going to work or school. It's harder. Here are some examples of how autistic people can experience rejection-sensitive dysphoria, or RSD. A fear of being rejected by peers or co-workers, leading to anxiety and avoiding social situations and workplace interactions. Another example, a sensitivity to criticism, leading to an emotional reaction that is perceived as disproportionate to the situation. It could be intense shame, guilt, sadness, whatever the situation may be, it's disproportionate in the eyes of others. A constant fear of being judged or evaluated. That's another example. And to be specific, this can include everyday activities. So I'm saying a constant fear of being judged or evaluated as you go shopping for food, as you do your grocery shopping, as you just go for a walk down the street, through public places, even a simple act of having a conversation. There's this constant fear of being judged or evaluated while doing even the simplest of things. Another example is a difficulty in accepting feedback or constructive criticism. And clearly for me, I struggle understanding and I guess receiving and dealing with feedback and criticism in an appropriate way for neurotypical people. But I also struggle with it if it's positive. It doesn't matter if you have negative or positive feedback for me. It's hard for me to take. It's hard for me to understand. And this can lead to a sense of defensiveness by that autistic person. They can withdraw, and it can cause emotional outbursts. Another example is a sensitivity to perceived or actual rejection. And this can be from anyone: friends, family, partners. Either way, it can lead to feelings of despair, sadness, worthlessness. A fear of making mistakes or underperforming. Another example. Again, doesn't really matter where it is: work, school, could be academic, could be social. The fear of making mistakes or underperforming in any setting can lead to anxiety and procrastination, putting things off. Don't do it, won't fail. Another example is the actual avoidance of situations that may trigger rejection. Try new things, public speaking, putting yourself out there, meeting new people, going to new places. Why would I do that? Let's avoid those situations or activities that can trigger rejection. A difficulty with rejection in romantic relationships, another example. Now you might think, well, hang on, everyone doesn't like to be rejected. Yep, that's true. That's true. We're talking about it through the lens, though, of RSD and autism. And that lens can lead to an intense fear of abandonment. So there's difficulty with rejection in romantic relationships. Leads to what could be disproportionate to other people, to a feeling, a legitimate fear of being left, being abandoned. Next example is me all over, my friends. Overthinking and replaying social interactions. Oh man. Trying to identify where things went wrong, but like 100,000 times. Maybe this time if I replay it, I'll work out what went wrong. What could I have done to make this go better? How did I cause this rejection, this judgment? Over and over and over, and never gets any easier. But it doesn't matter, because my brain thinks by overthinking, by replaying these past situations, I will indeed avoid rejection in the future. Of course, that isn't ever the case. Last example before we get to key strategies to help you overcome RSD as an autistic person is feeling intense shame and embarrassment over your past rejections. It could be said in general terms that a large portion of the population have experienced rejection, but are able to let it go, are able to move on. It does not define them or weigh them down. For some autistic people with RSD, rejection, sensitive dysphoria, this is not the case. This intense shame and embarrassment of past rejections leads to a strong fear of future rejections. How could it not? And what does that do? Well, that manifests into avoiding new opportunities. You're embarrassed and ashamed for past rejections, so I will avoid new rejections, and therefore there are no opportunities on the horizon. You're starving yourself of new opportunities to avoid the shame and embarrassment you feel for things in the past. Key strategies on how you as an autistic person or a person with ADHD can overcome RSD, rejection sensitive dysphoria. Recognize rejection sensitive dysphoria as a real condition, as a recognized phenomenon experienced by people on planet Earth. In recognizing that, you're recognizing that this isn't your fault. This is a legitimate and common experience for some autistic people, for some neurodivergent people. Another key strategy is learn to identify the triggers, the known causes of RSD for you. So what are the triggers that can lead to experiencing rejection-sensitive dysphoria for you as a person? Is it the criticism of others? Is it the rejection of others? The perceived rejection? Judgment? There's going to be triggers specifically to you and your experience. Identify those. I mention this in a lot of videos, and it's because I think it's important. So the more I say it, hopefully the more autistic people will buy into this. But relaxation, meditation, mindfulness, breathing exercises. You need to practice these things. It starts with you, and these things will help. They'll ground you. They'll bring you back to you and the present. Not worrying about what happened 10 years ago or what could happen tomorrow. The simple act of utilizing deep breathing exercises can really bring you back to a sense of calm, can help you maintain calmness if you perceive triggers. That can potentially navigate you through difficult moments by remaining centered. Create a self-care routine, another key strategy for overcoming, for managing RSD as a neurodivergent person. What do you mean? I mean a routine that includes things that you enjoy. Getting outside, time in nature, exercising, art, gaming, whatever it is. Create a routine of things that bring you joy. That's self-care. Self-care is important. Developing coping strategies can be really powerful in managing and overcoming RSD for neurodivergent people. That might mean just starting to journal. Just a simple act of journaling every day, every night, every morning, whenever it works for you. Just writing down your thoughts and feelings. Reaching out to someone in your support network. Talking to a trusted friend, family member, whoever. Using that support. And honestly, another great strategy for coping can just be whatever your special interest is, right? Hobbies, interests, passions, pleasures, whatever. You know, leaning into those. That's another great coping strategy. This is a really important key strategy. So please listen, take note. Develop boundaries. That's right. Develop healthy boundaries with people you know trigger RSD, rejection, sensitive dysphoria, in your life. What does that mean? That means many things to many people, but boundaries are pretty universal. Here's an idea. Get used to saying no. Yeah, that's right. You heard me. Learn to say no when you need to. When you need to say no, say no. So developing healthy boundaries with the people you know can trigger RSD is really important. Don't underplay this one. I think the simple act of creating a structure and a routine to your day can really help managing RSD. It can reduce stress. It provides you with a sense of control. It's not something that's new to autistic people, but really formally developing it can really help too. When you're less stressed, I think you're less prone to RSD. It's really important to engage in exercise or some type of physical activity, whatever works for you and your needs and your abilities, your passions and interests. It's still important to some degree to get your body moving, operating. It has a beneficial impact. Not to mention it reduces anxiety and clearly helps your overall well-being. Set realistic goals for people that experience rejection, sensitive dysphoria, rejection, criticism, judgment, evaluations. These things just hang over us like a dark cloud. Well, if you set realistic goals, which, by the way, because they're realistic, they're the goals you should be setting all the time, it makes it pretty impossible to legitimately have some sort of, and I'll post an argument if required. You know, here's my argument of why I am a loser, why I am someone who should be rejected, right? Well, there's not many arguments you can put out there if really this is a realistic goal, right? It's the unrealistic goals you don't meet that you use to explain why you think you're a loser or not good enough, and that's rubbish. And we all do it. Realistic goals, and celebrate small wins along the way. Seriously, we never do this. We set unrealistic goals that we never meet, so we feel like crap, utter rejection and criticism, and everything just piles on, and it's one big losing parade. Realistic goals and celebrate those small wins. I've already talked about mindfulness, meditation, breathing, but it's really important to try and utilize just some grounding techniques, especially in situations where you can feel there's triggers. There could be potential, or there is someone who triggers you in your space. Using grounding techniques can really help you navigate through this. Like I said, it could be deep breathing. Deep breathing is a thing and it works. It's a reset. Everyone has different ideas. It might be 6 seconds in, hold for 6 seconds, 6 seconds out. It might be the square. It doesn't matter. It just breathe deeply and slowly. I'm telling you, that will help you ground yourself in the moment. Focus on the senses. Focus on yourself. Find a way that works for you, that grounds you to reduce that anxiety and those abilities to be triggered by others or by things. The final key strategy I'll give you on how you can manage and overcome rejection, sensitive dysphoria as an autistic person or neurodivergent person for that matter is reframing the situation. So we're going to focus on the rejection, yeah? We're going to focus on the criticism. Okay, well, instead of focusing on the rejection or the criticism, can you shift your focus to the positive outcomes of the experience? Can you focus on positive aspects of that situation? Is it possible? You're probably thinking, no, it's not. That's why I'm here. I get it. But it actually is possible. It might not be in the moment. You might need more processing time like me, but you can. And once you turn that around and you have that thought, it does, in my opinion, dilute the impact of that experience going forward. For example, I might think about the skills, the abilities, and the experience I've gained from a particular situation that may, in the moment, have triggered a sense of rejection or criticism. In other words, what have I learned? What have I gained from this experience that will help me in the future? Because to me, that's a positive thing. RSD, huh? Hope you enjoyed learning about it. If you have some ideas of other topics you'd like me to cover in upcoming videos, all you've got to do is put your suggestions in the comments below and we'll have a chat about it. I'll say no, that's not true. Good times, good times. Thank you so much for your support. I really do appreciate it. Until my next video, thanks for watching and we'll talk soon.